what I wish I knew a little bit earlier was what would be the common requests of these investors to see, right? The types of financials, documents, and projections and things like that. And then kind of just being able to adjust them. Like they don't care about you. They don't care about what's going on in your life. Is the company going to make money? Or am I going to make a return and more on my investment? And that's all they care about, right? And that's something that was a big shift for me from like angel investors who are a little bit more personal and things like that to these VCs who are more kind of, cookie cutter. The people I got my closest connections were kind of new hires, kind of younger people who I built bonds with. And I was able to kind of work my way up and get in front of the right people. People would always say to me like, hey, don't waste your time talking to that lower level investor. And I found that to be not super true at all. I would even say I'm good friends with those initial people I met on the lower level. So look at every opportunity and don't kind of brush something off because you might have read something or heard something.
Trust your gut and to treat it just the same way that you would hire anyone. And you're going to be getting into bed with someone over a long period of time. If they're your lead investor, it matters less, obviously, if they're just putting a check in. But if they're going to sit on the board and they're going to contribute to the strategy and direction of your company, you want to choose them wisely. In fact, more wisely than you can with an employee, because if an employee doesn't work out, you can get rid of them. You can't do that to an investor. You use that level of diligence to do reference calls on them beforehand, to ask around, to go for a drink with them, do whatever it is that you need to feel right about it.
Fundraising, it's a combination of social and relationships. Even in any stage, if you've been communicating with your investors and with the investment community over time, they know what to expect, and it will enable them to evaluate you when the time comes. In a second thing I will say, and this is even more amplified today, maybe the biggest source for investors to decide on what to invest or who will be the winner is their portfolio companies. So we've been fortunate to service many of the largest VCs portfolio companies, and not only service them, to get really strong and positive feedback. So a lot of the VCs that have reached us, the conversation started by, I just met one of my portfolio company and they were really talking highly about you. They are really benefiting the product. That's a really great position to be in. And it really changes the dynamics of the conversation into a different level.
Firstly, I think revenue is actually very important. For us, in the first 3 months of our startup, we thought we are using the open source community as a go-to-market strategy. So revenue probably doesn't matter. However, that's not true. I think the revenue or the potential of getting revenue is actually very important, even we use open source strategy. So the open source software should finish the PMF or product market fit as soon as possible, because we need to understand the users and the customers. No matter we offer SaaS by public cloud or private cloud later, so the founders should talk to the customer together with the sales team. I think that's very important.
Ultimately, this is your company, this is your story, this is what you need to decide. So you need to take those as data points. And I remember wholly feeling completely inadequate going through those processes, getting that feedback, right? Be confident. You need to be coachable and take advice, but you also need to be able to know which advice to kind of put on the shelf and park and take in pieces, right? It's sort of this nuanced thing there. The other thing that we worked a lot on is really storytelling. Really, what is that narrative? What is that story that you're telling the investors about yourself? As I had more reps, I kind of recognized what worked and what didn't. These themes tied together through storytelling. And it's not unlike selling, right? Do you have a compelling story? Weave in all these other elements into that story. And meeting with a lot of people also allowed me to get more at-bats in terms of pitching and talking. And so that really helped build that story. It's your company, take that feedback, be coachable, but then also figure out what that compelling story is that folks can resonate, that resonates with folks.